Lynda here, the scrapbooking photographer. Welcome to today's video. We are working on a brand new hop this month called Whatever the Weather. So the idea is that everybody around the world who takes part documents the weather that they are having for this month. So I'm in New Zealand and it's July. Today, while I'm filming, it is absolutely pouring with rain and it's freezing cold. But we have had some beautiful fog. And so I thought I would show you the view from our kitchen window with the trees bare of their leaves in the distance, and the cows down here, and the fog just rolling in at the end of the day with a beautiful sunset behind. Not all our weather is as picturesque as that at the moment, but that's what I'm working with today. So follow everybody else on the hop as well and see what the weather's like in their corner of the world this month. I'm also going to work with some papers that I love but aren't really reflective of what we have in our part of the world, or not where I live anyway. So I'm going to use the bottom part of that with the trees. I really like the tree idea. And then bring in some highlighting colour for the sunset, but I need to break that up a little bit with some retired New England ivy, and I'm going to soften everything with some vellum. So let's see how we go. I'm sorry about this shadow, there's not much I can do about that while still being able to see. So 10 inches wide by 6.5. So I'm looking to have about an inch wide frame around the outside of the photo. So I've just nipped away and gutted the middle of the piece out on the trimmer. And then I'm going to bring some of the yellow in around the outside. Now the photo is going to go underneath like that so that it shines through the different mounting things on the top. So I've trimmed the yellow piece to fit over and cover any loose edges, and I'll use the Tim Holtz distresser just to go around the outside and rough up the edges. When I've gone round with the distresser, I'll then go around and bend all the edges up as well so that we can see a little bit more of the white that's on the backside of the paper, and that just brings in a little bit more to go with the fog. I'll also do the same on the green piece of cardstock and go around that with the distresser, and that's got a white core to the cardstock, so again when I fold it up you can see more of the white. So getting rid of all the debris, I can then see what this will look like with the green and then the yellow, and that's exactly how I want it to look, so I can then start to put it all together. I'm going to bring a little bit of vellum in underneath those frames just to accentuate the fog a little bit. Now vellum's tricky because if you stick it where you're going to see the sticky bit come through, then you need to cover it, and I don't want to put anything else on the photo, so I'm hiding it under the edge of the mount so that I can use the sticky underneath and not have it on show. And 3 pieces of vellum works well, and it tidies up the bottom there, so 1 on each side and 1 underneath, and it just kind of extends the fog a little bit in my mind anyway. So now I've got them all there, I'll stick everything together, and I'll start with putting the adhesive on the front of the green piece so that I can line the yellow piece up, and then I can put some of the tape onto the back, and the first thing I need to do is add the vellum. So I can use the tape I've just put there to adhere that down, because if you put the tape where you're going to see it through the vellum, you end up having to cover it with something else, which is not a good look. So once I've put the vellum down, I can put some more sticky on top of that and then turn it all over and place it on top of the photo. And then I can bring the back piece in and place everything where I want it, with a bit more sticky around the outside to keep everything in place. I'm really looking forward to what everybody else does in this hop with the weather in their area. It'll be good because it's winter here, but obviously it's not winter in the northern hemisphere. And most of the weather that we get here comes from Australia. We tend to get what they get a few days later. So I know there's some girls from Australia doing this hop as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they've chosen. Right, so now it comes to doing the title, and I've decided that the title in this page is going to be a tricolour one. I did initially do it with the green and the yellow with a little piece of vellum in between, but that didn't really work because you couldn't see the shape of the letter with the vellum. So I'm now doing it with yellow and the brown with the green in the middle. Now I've ripped the edges of the brown and the yellow so that we get that foggy look again throughout these letters. And I've trimmed it to a shape that's going to fit through the little Stampin' Up die cutting machine. And I'm using these letters that came from close to my heart, and the title is Foggy Days. Now, because I want everything to have the same sort of colour spread, I have used a bit of washi tape on top of the letters to keep them in place. And that way, when they're all through and I take the washi tape off, they've all been lined up in the same kind of space. So the S was a little bit towards the end of the blocks that I ran through, so I will need another S, but I also need an extra G and an extra Y. So I'll do the same process to get the next three letters, and that will finish off that title. I did play with how it was going to look on top of the page, and I played with having it on some plain cardstock and on some vellum. I really like bringing in the vellum underneath, and then I wasn't sure if it needed another colour underneath. But I've used the brown and the green and the yellow in the letters, and the little bit of brown, I think at the top of the letters balances with it at the bottom of the page. So in the end, I went for just popping it onto a piece of vellum and tearing around the outside to give me two little patches of cloud, if you like, with the letters on them. Now, when I've torn around the outside, I then think about what I'm going to put at the top. I just feel it needs a little bit of a lid on the page. So I try the green, and I think that's the best thing to put in there. So I cut a strip, which needs to be a little bit wider, so cut another strip. And then I like the straight edge better than the ripped against the vellum. So I make it the same width as the photo. So I think that kind of balances the page nicely. Now, to stick the letters down onto the page underneath that strip, I use some art glitter glue. Now, I use this because it's got a fairly fine tip on it, and I can just place little dots of glue like you see me doing there behind the letters so that it's not going to show through the vellum. So again, the vellum just sticks behind looking like a floating cloud, and I like the way the edges show up against that green background. The next thing I'll do is just rip a piece out of the leftover vellum for a journaling box down the bottom, and I'll just write quickly that this is the view from the kitchen. Now, just putting a couple of little bits of tape runner on there, which I will cover with some sequins when the page is finished. So I'll do my journaling and fill that in, and then I can bring these sequins in that I mentioned before and just cover those little bits of sticky tape. Now, to balance the page, I'll put another 3 over on the right-hand side, and then a couple up the top as well along that banner. And that's the page completed. Thank you so much for joining us on this hop, whether you're taking part or watching as a spectator. I hope you get some time to try some of the techniques that you see on the way through the playlist, which is listed in the description below. Happy crafting, everyone.